hope you enjoyed our last video of our trip to the Amicala Game Reserve.
Things are moving right along with the boat build, and the whole team came back ready to hit it. So I think by the time you see the next walkthrough, you're going to see some really big changes.
So we thought we'd take this time and talk about all the things we did to get ready to come down here and move onto the boat.
We made a list of all the stuff that we thought we might not be able to get here in South Africa. And then we went on a shopping spree. We spent like drunken sailors. And let me tell you, Amazon loves us.
And the delivery guys hate us.
So we're going to show you all the stuff we got. Now I want to start by talking about my wardrobe. I got a whole new wardrobe. So for everybody who ever wondered why it always seems like I'm wearing the same clothes, it's because I got 12 matching gray shirts and 3 pair of khaki pants that look exactly the same. I'm wearing clean clothes every day. They just all look alike. So what else do we get?
Well, I think we should also talk about, before we left the States, we took a first aid course. So that we have the basics of CPR and basic first aid. We took a refresher scuba diving course to make sure that we were completely up to speed, because it's been like 30 years ago we got certified. Right. And we also took a safe boating course.
That was important for the insurance. We actually had to have a boating license or a safe boating certificate in order for our insurance to be lower. And then one other thing we did is we worked with the American Sailing Association to get our certificate of competency based upon all the actual formal training that we've had in the past. Here's some of the other stuff we got.
We decided the first thing we would focus on is safety gear.
Now in this case, our safety gear consists of 2 components: a personal flotation device and an emergency alert beacon. Imagine it's midnight, you're on watch by yourself, and everybody else on the boat is asleep, and somehow or other you get thrown overboard. In this case, this device will sense the fact that you've hit the water and blow up. It's got an air cartridge on the inside of it. It will blow up, become a full-size flotation device, and cause you to bob upright in the water. Then what happens is you turn on your emergency beacon, because the boat is now sailed off because it's on autopilot. You turn on your emergency location beacon. It triangulates from multiple satellites. It sends a message back to the National Weather Service in the United States, who then reaches out and deploys whatever rescue resources are closest to you. It might be the Italian Navy, it might be the Caribbean Marines, who knows, but they're going to figure out where you are based upon the latitude and longitude and come rescue you, and you're going to be floating along happily.
The websites where we bought all the gear will be in the notes below, so if you want to look at exactly the specifications that we chose, you can click on any of those links.
Now you might wonder why we got this particular set. Well, I can tell you there's a couple of things that we were looking for. First of all, we were looking for something with a crotch strap. If you're knocked out or if you're just in the water for a really long time, these things can ride up and get really uncomfortable. The crotch strap holds it down. It makes it a lot more comfortable to bob along in the water. The other thing is, this has a hood built into the back of it. The hood will come up and cover your face and keep the waves from splashing you. Attached to the top of that hood, there's a little blinking beacon that makes it easier to find you.
Right.
And the whole thing, by the way, is bright yellow when it deploys.
And it's really light.
Yeah.
It's very lightweight.
We were looking for something that didn't ride up on the back of your neck.
Yeah,
and
so
like,
this one, it's got a U shape there, which is really
and
nice.
they're actually really comfortable to wear. For the emergency beacon, one of the things that we were looking for was one where we didn't have to re-register for service every single year. What if we forgot and didn't register? This actually has a lifetime service program in it. So every 3 years we do have to re-register with NOAA just to make sure that our information is accurate, but it's not like these things aren't going to work because we forgot to pay our annual dues or anything along those lines.
We mentioned earlier that we got recertified for scuba diving. We're going to be visiting some really great places with some wonderful scuba opportunity.
Now the good news is the boat is fully kitted out to support scuba diving. It's got a full set of scuba tanks, and it's got a rig on board to allow us to refill the tanks without having to go into the dive shop. Of course, there was one more thing we were missing. It was gear.
Or scuba gear, for those of you who couldn't make that out.
Whoa, am I glad to have all that dive gear off. It gets really hot when you're not in the water.
I bet it does.
So what'd we get?
All right, let's start at the bottom with fins. Yours are Scuba Pro fins and little dive booties.
Now those dive boots are really handy because they keep the tops of your feet from getting rubbed raw if you're swimming around for a really long time.
Right. You can also use them as regular beach shoes.
Cool.
Convenient. And then we have the dive knife, which I'm not sure how often you'll use it. It's really just for emergencies, yeah. If you get caught up in a fishing line
or if you find a turtle in a net you want to cut loose.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we have dive gloves, which protect your hands from coral.
Now I've got 2 sets of dive gloves. I've got these, and then I've got lobstering gloves, which have thick pads on them to keep, so I can pull lobsters out from under rocks.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Okay.
And then, of course, the mask and snorkel. Mm-hmm. So on the snorkel is new technology. I've never used one like this before, so I'm really interested in how well it works. I've always hated snorkeling because I hated having to blow that air out.
To get the water out the top, yeah.
Right, lung pressure. And these new snorkels have a valve here.
So all you do is blow out and all the water goes right out the bottom.
Right, so I'm really looking forward to trying that. Mm-hmm. And then your dive mask, which is just a nice mask, but you have the nice wide band at the back.
That's what doesn't get caught up in all my hair when I put it on when it's wet.
And the last thing I have, you're a flashlight, but in addition to the flashlight, there's also this strap that velcros to your hand so that you don't have to actually hold the flashlight. You can just point, and the flashlight is really convenient to use. Mm-hmm. What have you got? Oh,
shorting.
I forgot the shorting, of course, the shorting. Really good, it's only 3 mil, so it's really good for warm weather diving.
What happens if we want to go diving in cold water?
We never want to go diving in cold water.
Oh, okay. All right, over on this side of the table, let's start with the BC or buoyancy control device. Now, on our old BCs, they used to have air pockets in the front, air pockets underneath, air pockets in the back, and you walked around like the Michelin Man.
Right.
You'll notice on this one, it's actually just got these little skinny straps. They're almost like suspenders. That's because all the air gets held in the back of the BC, and when you inflate it, it makes you look kind of like a turtle.
But that's the position you want to be in.
Right, because that's how you're going to swim along, right? Okay, and then you've got a belt down here. Your weight, instead of using a weight belt, your weight is held in these pockets right here in quick release snaps. So much more convenient, much more natural, much easier to dive with this kind of BC. Moving on to the regulator. Now, the first stage, I don't think this technology has changed in like 100 years. There's not much new there. But the second stage, the part you actually breathe through, it's got this handy little valve on it. And what it does is if you're on the surface of the water, you set it one way and it does it free flow. When you go under about 10 feet of water, you set it the other way, and it actually just makes it much easier to breathe more normally. You don't have to suck in to be able to start the flow of air.
I can't wait to try that.
The octopus is tiny now, and it comes on a little quick release snap. So if you run out of air, you just reach up and snap your octopus loose, and you can breathe off the my tank.
Flailing around behind you, which is nice.
And then the instruments. Well, because actually I only have one gauge, it's my pressure gauge. All the rest of the gauges are now built into a dive computer. Now we can do an entire series just on the dive computer, but realistically, no, there's a dive computer and an air gauge, and of course a compass on the back so we can find our way back to have a cocktail after we go scuba diving.
And how long do you think it's going to take you to learn that dive computer?
No. We'll see. Do you know what the #1 cause for severe arguments is among cruising couples?
Too much togetherness?
No, actually it's anchoring.
Yes.
Picture it now. There's one person at the helm, the engine's roaring, the wind is blowing through, there's another person out of the bowsprit that's trying to run the windlass, and you're trying to use hand signals and communicate and find the perfect spot. Meanwhile, everybody else in the bay is already watching you and listening to you scream back and forth trying to have a conversation over the wind and the engine noise about what you're doing. Well, that's what these are for. I like to think of them as marital aids. Actually, they're fully duplex wireless headsets, and they're great because with a push of one button, we're now talking to each other in a normal tone of voice.
They work really well. It's nice to be able to listen or talk without having to worry about shouting back 20 feet, 30 feet.
They're set up in such a way so that there's a bridge across the back of your head. You can't throw them off or dislodge them. They won't fall in the water while you're using them. And by the way, you can actually listen to music if you're not talking to each other.
Oh yeah, they're Bluetooth compatible.
Yeah, so you can listen to music from the house system or from your phone or whatever else. But anyway, consider this as an option for docking, for anchoring, for anything where one of you is on one part of the boat and another's on
And
the
we're going
other.
to use them when we test the boat, the systems, so that George can be inside and I can be outside, making sure that something's working.
Right. I'm sure that we're going to use them all over the place because it's a pretty big boat. Honey, it's a little cloudy outside, but I don't think you need all that.
Well, no, I wanted to show everybody my foul weather gear.
Oh, okay, now I get it. And you've got your special waterproof shoes with holes so the water can drain out of the bottom if you get them wet. You got your waterproof pants, you got your jacket with a hood and a big collar and warm fuzzy lining inside, and of course we got the same thing for me, right? Lots of pockets.
You got one
Okay.
too, but yours isn't all red.
Mine's red and black, right?
Correct.
Okay. But we're both ready for the foul weather as well.
That we will hopefully never see.
There you go. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that we purchased, like O-ring making kits and specialty tools, but we'll pull those out and show them to you as we need them later on when we're on the boat.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe below.
See you next time.
Bye.